Hello. Hi, it's Dr. Ginny Trierweiler here, and I'm coming in on my Friday meeting, my Friday talk to talk about how getting sustainable weight loss it's a total unicorn. I mean, when you look at the research, it's only maybe 1% of weight loss efforts that turn out to produce sustainable weight loss. People will tell you all the time, "Oh, I'm losing weight, it's so great." But 2 years later, did they keep the weight off? Almost never. That's what UCLA researchers found. That's what a lot of us have found. Like, we might be able to get the weight off, but it doesn't stay off. And who wants to do that anymore? So, how does this all come together? This is something I finally devoted myself to studying because I was struggling so much. I felt like I was finding good answers in the marketplace, but I wasn't getting sustainable weight loss anymore. Like, I might get temporary weight loss and then gain the weight back. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. It was driving me crazy. It was that thing of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? I don't like feeling like that. So anyway, I was able to find the answers that added up to really great results, and it's totally transformed my life. So many health issues in addition to the weight loss just being pretty easy. So once I discovered, after years and years and years and years of trying and having lousy results, once I discovered what actually works, I really wanted to figure out how to help other, especially women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, learn how this works, because I feel like the world needs us. So I want to talk today about how it's a matter of biology and psychology. And one reason I feel like this is important is we've sort of been trained in this environment that all I got to do is find the right diet and I'm just going to follow it and it's just going to be easy. And then because I will just make myself do it because this matters to me. And I think that is underestimating a bunch of things. I think it's underestimating the accuracy of the information we're finding, the effectiveness of the diets that we're finding out there. It tends to be terrible, right? So we're overestimating the truthfulness and the effectiveness of what we're finding out there. And we're underestimating how much of our psychology needs to change. So somebody was just responding in a comment on YouTube saying it's really, really important to be able to keep treats in the diet, treats, whatever that might mean to each of us, and it probably means some of the same things. It's really important to keep them because otherwise we feel deprived. So there's a whole bunch of cultural messages that are woven into our psychology now that may not be serving us, right? So let's talk about these two big picture pieces. So one is to get sustainable weight loss, you have to eat in a way that your body likes, that your body's not your brain, not your habits, not your mindset, not just your taste buds, but your body has to feel like, all right, that's a lot of good nutrition. I do not have to store excess fat now, right? So we have to address that, right? So the most of the diets we're finding out there are having really not helpful effects for our biology. The effect is, okay, a lot of them are based in some kind of version of calorie cutting, of eating less. And the body initially responds by letting go of excess weight. Then it responds by going, uh-oh, not getting enough calories. We need to do some things to fix the problem. And so there's several things the body does. And it drives up our cortisol. So it makes us anxious. It makes us feel like I need to spend more time looking for food because I'm not getting enough nutrition. It also changes how our hunger hormones work, right? Our hunger and satiety hormones, so that we feel more hungry. So we're more anxious, we're more hungry when we're dieting. And it also starts changing how our insulin functions. So insulin manages the calories coming in for energy or to store as excess fat. And when our body perceives we're not getting enough nutrition, it starts changing how our insulin functions. So we feel more low energy. Like if you eat and then you feel like you need to go lay down, you're not eating the right things because it's your body saying that that was the opposite of energy, right? We're going to need to store excess fat because we're not getting enough calories of energy. So we need a way of eating that transforms that situation. That situation is not serving us. What became amazing to me as I dug into the research is really, and I always tell you, if you take nothing else away, the first thing to take away is instead of focusing on eating less, you do far better to focus on eating more, a lot more of the highly nutritious foods. And I'm not talking about packaged foods that have arguments about how healthy they are, like they have antioxidants or whatever they say they have within them. That is not what I'm talking about for truly healthy, highly nutritious foods, right? So I know it's not easy to find the answers in the marketplace. You're going to find a lot of terrible answers that lead you astray in the marketplace. It's really, really frustrating. That's why I decided I'm not going to listen to anybody. I'm going to go look at the research myself. I'm going to take my training and my background in evidence-based practices. I'm going to define what results I want. I want better health. I want to reverse prediabetes. I want to calm down, if not eliminate, the menopause symptoms. I want to really minimize my chances of heart disease and the things so many people are dying of, and get the weight loss to reverse and stay, right? I just want to reset my weight to a healthier point and not have to worry about this anymore. So with that kind of picture in mind and my training in evidence-based practices, I started seeing really clear principles and even clear guidelines about how much of the different kinds of foods to eat. That clarity really helped me. Having no one to help me meant I started out in tears. I always tell people this, but early days, as I was finding the ways of eating, I was in tears over, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how this is going to work in my life. It's one reason I feel like I have to help other people. You don't have to be alone with this, and it doesn't have to be hard. And my clients tell me all the time, this is not hard. It's easy, it's enjoyable, and it makes sense. Like, I don't know why I didn't know this. We just happen to live in times where it's really hard to know what truly healthy eating is. So now 80% of us are overweight or obese, and that is getting worse year after year. And it's just not normal or natural for human beings. But I grew up, I'm going to be 65 in a couple of months. I grew up my whole life in this environment that's been getting worse and worse and worse. And as I study and try harder to understand what healthy eating is, I'm not getting good answers from the marketplace. So the first thing about getting sustainable weight loss is we have to use the right eating approach for our biology. And it takes me a while to teach people this. And really, I take them through a process of unlearning before I take them through the process of learning what is truly healthy to eat and how much of it to eat. But I can tell you the highest level summary is we need to eat enough of the right things and not eat too many of the wrong things. And getting clear about which are right and which are wrong for our body to make our body go, all right, getting the nutrition I need. And how much? Yeah, there's a lot of specificity and clarity that changes everything. Like once it gets super clear, it's not that hard to do. But we love to keep a certain amount of vagueness in this so we can just eat what we want to eat and feel good about it, right? That's human nature. And our environment trains us to search constantly for the latest tips, which is not turning out well for us at all. We're getting terrible tips. There isn't some kind of brand new great idea every day. I kept looking every day. Is there a great idea today? Is there something that's going to make it possible for me to get results and keep eating the way I want to eat? So high level picture is we need to eat enough of the highly nutritious foods. Our bodies are not going to reset to a healthy weight until they feel comfortable that we're getting the nutrition that we need. And so that's the biology side of things. It's changing our gut microbiome. When our gut is getting enough of the food that still has the fiber lattice intact, right? We're not taking fiber supplements, we're getting fiber from our food, and then our gut can make use of all those nutrients in there and send all that stuff where it's needed for our body. So we can't really fake out our gut. right? We can't really fake out our hormones. We really need to change how our insulin is functioning, and we can do that with food. So that's the way most of us are going to really change our biology. Back to the way it was even 60 years ago, where most of us were not overweight. Most of us were not obese. It's not that there's no one throughout human history that's overweight or obese. But really, it's in these times, eating the way we're eating, that this has all changed to such a dramatic degree that it's now most of us struggling and struggling. More Americans are on diets than ever before, and our weight keeps going up. Like the overweight and obesity rates keep going up, along with diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease and certain cancers and dementia that are all related to how we're eating. So this makes sense, right? We've got to figure out, and it's not a matter of buying packaged stuff that says it's healthy, that says this is good for you, right? Because of this, that, and the other thing. It's a matter of figuring out what's truly healthy to eat and prioritizing it and doing it over and over and over, meal after meal, so your body doesn't feel like it has to fight to hold on anymore to the calories. It really isn't hard once you find the answers. It's really thoroughly enjoyable to eat what your body actually needs. Now we get to the psychology, right? So figuring out how to eat so your biology is happy, so your body naturally resets to a healthy weight, right? That's what's so gorgeous. That's part of what makes it sustainable. Now the psychology piece is a bunch of pieces. And this is why once I looked at, is anybody else teaching how to eat this way, and found a few people, I thought, well, is there still a need for a psychologist to be guiding people? And I decided absolutely there is, because the psychology side of it is partly about mindset and ideas and beliefs and statements that run through our head that keep us. One of the big psychology issues is we have come to really overvalue non-nutritious food-like substances, the highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. They've been promoted to us our whole lives. They taste really good on the tongue. They're really convenient. And for the human psychology, that means good. This is good. And we tell each other, oh, this is so good. You've got to have some of this. That is quite the psychology to overcome. To me, it's been really worthwhile because I got so much health back. I really feel like I'll live well until I'm 100 years old and still be hiking in the mountains. And that's not where I was headed 10 years ago. I had prediabetes. I was 60 pounds overweight. I could barely walk because I had so much pain and inflammation in my feet, right? I wasn't headed towards a very healthy, happy, active, self-determined future. So it is worth eating differently from how I grew up eating and how people around me are eating, because I've changed my mind. And so that's what I think we really have to do, is change our mind. If it matters enough to you, you can change your mind about this. You can change your psychology. So we look at, wow, I really value sweets and I really value convenience. And I understand that those are priorities of the primitive brain. You know, the primitive brain developed to protect our survival. And so if I've been eating more and more sweets throughout my life and more convenient foods throughout my life, and those are two priorities of my primitive brain, now to change that, I'm going to have to really bring things to awareness that I haven't been that aware of. Ooh, this is good. Wait a minute. What did I just say? Do I ever say that about things that are good for me? I might want to pay attention here. I might want to get more aware of what's going on in my brain. One idea that I became really aware of that helped me was the idea, I wasn't going to have this today, but I am going to have it today. I want it. I need it. I deserve it. I deserve it. I started training myself to go, you can have this if you want, but you just said I deserve this. And that tends to be a sign. In fact, it always meant I'm going to eat something that's not good for me right now. I'm going to drink something that's not good for me right now, but I deserve it. And it just started hurting my heart to be telling myself every day, I deserve this thing that's not good for me. Why? What is that? I don't want to say that to myself. That's hurting my soul. That's hurting my heart. So I would tell myself, okay, you're not going to freak yourself out. You're going to have this in 10 minutes, but first you're going to journal a little bit about what you mean by I deserve this. And I started changing my mind about what I deserve. For the human psychology to care about ourselves 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, that's not easy, right? What's easy and natural is a condition of entropy, just going downhill, right? So we look at older people and we think, well, I'm not going to let that happen. But we don't actually think through, what is it going to take for that not to happen? What do I have to do? Now, the good news about this is changing our eating is the big domino. When you look at contributors to our health and our longevity, et cetera, and how early we die and how sick we get, eating is by far the biggest thing we can change. Exercise has an influence. I think somewhere between 3% and 4% contributor to those things. But eating is more like a 38 to 40% contributor to those things. I really didn't know that until I really started studying all this. But when I changed my eating, and I thought I was a pretty healthy eater, but when I changed my eating according to the principles I discovered work for our biology predictably and reliably, wow, all these things changed in such big ways I had no idea. So I used that understanding to really start to change my psychology in an intentional way. I just want you to know it is absolutely possible to change your mind about what's good to eat. It's absolutely possible to fall in love with the nutritious foods and eat them in far greater abundance than you have been, and to make those start to really crowd out the non-nutritious food-like substances. And I've told you guys this before, but research shows that now only 40% of what Americans are eating, and our diet has spread all over the world, only 40% of what we're eating is actually nutritious foods. 60% is that other stuff. So maybe you're doing better than other people and it's 50-50. Or maybe you're doing so much better than other people that 60% of the food you eat is actually truly highly nutritious food. It's not enough to feel well and to have the healthy weight, right? So we need to keep pushing that higher. For me, it helped to get really clear. Oh, this is how much nutritious food I need to eat if I want to transform all this. So now the job is, how do I find a way to fall in love with eating that much nutritious food? Now, pretty fast. Now, this is a great benefit to me, is I'm helping people with this all the time. So every week I'm hearing somebody who's just been doing this for 2 weeks. Wow, I really noticed something changed in my body. I really noticed more energy, or I really noticed better sleep, or I'm starting to lose weight already. And I've been struggling with this for 10 years, right? So we really see that our body responds pretty quickly when we start giving it what it needs. Now, part of the psychology is changing what we value, what's really important to us, changing what we crave. I have figured out this whole crave the good process. We can go from craving what's bad for us to craving what's good for us. And then the next psychology piece is, okay, now how do I make this a happy habit? How do I just do this day in and day out without making constant exceptions? This is psychology, because we can learn how to manage habit change so that it serves us, right? So that my habits become what create the life I want. And I just do them every day. I don't look for excuses and justifications anymore for eating in some other way, right? Does it make sense? So there's quite a few pieces of psychology to change. Changing what I tell myself I deserve, what I believe I deserve. That was one of the early pieces of work that I did, right? And I discovered the crave the good process over the years. Like, I'm just falling more and more in love with the nutritious foods and really falling out of love with the cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances, right? Look, this is what I was going for. I wanted slender for good results. I wanted to transform my health. I wanted my health to be going in a much more positive, healthy direction so I could feel confident about living well until the end. I wanted eating to be something I enjoy that isn't stressful, that I'm not worried about. I'm not constantly searching for another answer. Researchers find that we tend to be making over 200 eating and drinking decisions every day. Now, a psychologist knows that's going to lead to decision fatigue. You're going to be overwhelmed and exhausted all the time if you're having to spend that much energy trying to figure out what to eat and drink. It's just not a reasonable, it's not a sustainable place for a human being to live. I wanted eating issues. I still wanted to enjoy eating, but I didn't want it to be stressful, and I didn't want it to be taking so much time and energy. For those of you who followed This Naked Mind, Annie Grace talks about making drinking small, making alcohol small and irrelevant. And a lot of us want our food to be a little more small and irrelevant, not such a big, hairy deal in our lives. Like, I still want to enjoy it, but I don't want it to be the center of my life. I want to enjoy going for walks and spending time in nature and going on trips without, feeling like I can't be the person who walks around town, right? So I really wanted eating to be handled. I wanted my weight to be reset so I never have to diet again. And weight issues are just not an issue for me, right? It absolutely changed my life, and it freed up hours of time and energy every day that now I don't know, it's 8 years later or something. That's ahead of me for year after year after year. Eating and weight are just not issues for me, right? And I think it's gorgeous. And I love seeing it happen for my clients, where it just becomes, you know what? I know how to eat this way. It makes sense. I like it. I love it. Like, especially the people who have been restricting a lot, they love eating this way because it's based in abundance. So I hope that makes sense. There's a biology to address with your eating and to address in a consistent way. Getting it consistent is about psychology. Like, okay, it's about finding the ways to make it work in your life and then just doing it. Like, this is just what I do. I'm not looking for an excuse to start doing something else or to make a lot of exceptions. I recognize making a lot of exceptions means that I'm not going to have habits. I'm going to have to be thinking about it all the time, right? I hope that's helpful. If you'd like to know more about, well, what is this way of eating that works? And if you'd like to explore how Slender for Good supports both your biology and your psychology, I'd love to talk with you. Just reach out to me. All right, take care.